Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about something that people usually doesn't talk about, and it is the lessons of Animal Farm, why reading and educations are really matter more than what we ever think. When we talk about reading, many people assume it's simply an academic activity, something we do for exams, assignments, grades, but there are actually some books who are written not merely to be finished. There are some books who are written to enlighten us up, and I think Animal Farm is one of those books. So, my name is Muhammad Bayu Dani Pratama, but you can call me Dani, and today I'd like to share a short reflections on a book that may seem simple on the surface, yet carries a very powerful message beneath it. So, what is the book about? A cute story about animals having fun in a farm? Well, not at all. At first, it looks simple animals, a farm, and a rebellion. Yet, the longer we read, the clearer it becomes that the story is not about animals at all. It is about what happens when a society stops thinking critically. Through a fictional farm, George always shows us how ignorance, blind trust, and lack of education can turn an ordinary individuals into an easy targets, not because they are evil, but because they do not know the better one. And that is why this story still matters till today's society, not as political message, but as a reminder of why reading, knowledge, and educations are essential for any society that does not want to be achieved. Reading trains us to recognize patterns. Education sharpens our ability to notice contradictions. Knowledge gives us the courage to question, not to rebel blindly, but to think clearly. Without these tools, society does not collapse dramatically. It simply becomes quiet, obedient, and easy to control. We live in a world where information is everywhere, yet understanding is very rare. Many people read headlines but not the content. They repeat slogans but never ask why. They trust voices that sound confident without checking whether the voices are honest or not. This is exactly the conditions our portrays on the form. And this is where the education becomes more than a formal process. It has become a protection. I want to be clear from the beginning. I'm here not as political expert or historian, but I am here just as an ordinary reader, as someone who once thought that reading was just an academic requirement, till I realized how easily people, myself included, can be influenced. When I read Animal Farm, I did not see it as a story about animals or ideology. I saw a mirror of what happens when people rely more on trust than understanding, and more on habit than awareness. This book made me realize something important, that ignorance are not stupidity. It is simply the absence of learning. And once learning stops, anyone, no matter how kind, loyal, or hardworking they are, can be misled. And that is why I chose Animal Farm. Not to tell you what to believe, but to invite you to see how reading and education are sharpen our awareness and protect us from being easily deceived. What I share today comes from reading, reflections, and realizations that education is not about being smarter than others, but about not being controlled by what we fail to understand. As young people, we often believe that manipulation only happens in the big systems, in the powerful institutions, or in a political context. But Animal Farm tells us something uncomfortable, something different. That manipulation often succeeds not because power is strong, but because people are stopped questioning. Animal Farm has long been studied not only as a literary work, but a text that examines how power operates when knowledge is unevenly distributed. Many scholars highlight how Orwell used simple language to reveal complex realities, how rules can be changed when people do not remember the original rules, how narratives replace truth when no one checks fact, and how authority thrives when critical thinking disappears. This is why Animal Farm remains relevant across generations, not because it tells us what to think, but because it reaches and teaches us how easily thinking can disappear when education is neglected. Through Animal Farm, Orwell delivers clear warning that is a society without educations, critical reading, and awareness will not be overpowered by force. It will be misled by comfort, slogans, and familiar voices. So, Napoleon does not seize power through intelligence alone. He succeeds because the other animals do not fully understand what is happening. They cannot read well, they cannot remember the rules clearly, and most important, they do not question authority. This shows us a crucial lesson. Power becomes dangerous not when leaders are strong, but when people are uninformed. And education is not about opposing authority, it is about ensuring that authority cannot act without accountability. So, Schooler's strength lies in words. He does not change the reality, but he changes how reality is explained, and the animals accept his explanations because they lack the ability to analyze language critically. This is what happens when people stop reading deeply, when they accept information at face value, when they confuse confidence with truth. Reading teaches us to slow down, to notice inconsistencies, to ask whether words are explaining reality or hiding it. So, there are also the characters boxers, which is the horse, and also the ships who are full obediently, yet both share the same weakness. They never questions. Their tragedy is not caused by laziness or bad intentions, but by a lack of understanding. Orwell reminds us that loyalty without awareness is easily exploited, and effort without knowledge can still lead to loss. Education does not make people disloyal, it makes them aware. From Animal Farm, we learn three essential lessons. First, power grows unchecked when people lack of educations. And the second is language becomes a weapon when readers stop thinking critically. And the third, a society that stops questioning slowly loses control over its own future. And this is not a story meant to make us angry. It is a story meant to make us alert. Reading is not about appearing intelligent. Education is not about collecting certificates. They are about survival in a world full of narratives. We read so we do not become easily convinced. We learn so we are not easily led. We educate ourselves so we do not repeat the mistakes of the animals on the farm. We trust too much, question too little, and pay the price. This is not a call to resist, it is a call to understand. In the end, reading teaches us one powerful truth. A society that reads will not be easily deceived. A generation that fails education will not be trapped by repeating patterns. Because when knowledge is strong, manipulation loses its power. And that is why reading are matters. Not just for grades, but for awareness, dignity, and freedom of thought. That is all from myself, and thank you.